he just went low. He's in his head. He's in his head. He's open. His head wide open. Cracked open in the face.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mario Man 100 back again with another episode of How's My Team. So we have a few things to talk about. We obviously have the Wanderers women's team in the Sydney Derby against Sydney FC. We've also got the Wanderers men's going over to Western Australia to play Perth Glory away from home. And obviously we've got Liverpool playing both midweek and weekend games against Leeds United and Sunderland. So got a little bit to talk about. So let's get started with the episode. So I was going to start with Liverpool first, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually just put that in the middle. But we're going to start with the Wanderers men's because they ended up travelling to Perth in Western Australia to play Perth Glory at their home ground in HBF Park. And it was a 1-0 loss by the Wanderers against Perth Glory, who were a couple of positions under our current position. And so they scored in the 30th minute. I think it might have actually been a deflection as well in that as well. And then not long after that, they ended up actually having a person that ended up having a second yellow card. So in essence, they were down to 10 men for well over a half of football, and the Wanderers just didn't shoot that much at all. The 40th minute is when the second yellow card was given. So it was well over a half and a bit, and plus stoppage time in both halves, that they ended up trying to shoot for goal, and they just didn't get it in. And I'd say it's arguably one of their worst performances of the year, because you got a team that's down to 10 men, and yet you can't beat them. Like, you can't even draw. Like, what were they even doing? So at this point, we're in 9th position, so we did drop a spot because obviously Perth jumped from 10th position right up to 4th. At the moment, obviously they're on 10 points, with quite a few games obviously still to play this weekend. In there, we've got obviously the second lot of the New Zealand derbies to play out yet. We've got Newcastle Jets up against Melbourne City. We've got Central Coast Mariners against Sydney FC. And we've got Adelaide versus Brisbane as well on Sunday. So a lot of those results will change the way that the ladder looks. But at the moment, the men's team's in 9th position, but obviously with other results could possibly drop. They could drop down a position to 10th position if Newcastle do end up winning against Melbourne City. But obviously we're in 9th position at the moment, tied with Macarthur Bulls, down in 8 points. Though there is a block with Wellington, Mariners, Wanderers and Macarthur Bulls all on 8 points. But at this point in time, both Wellington and Central Coast have not played yet, so they could easily move up, both of them. So, not a great result, excuse me. Don't know why every time I'm recording one of these I'm yawning. I know it's like just after 10 a.m. and, woke up a couple hours ago, but I shouldn't be yawning. But it was pretty lackluster performance after, I guess considering, yes, the last week was very much a game that was going to be tough for both teams in a Sydney derby, for both Sydney FC and the Western Sydney Wanderers. And obviously being 2 wins back-to-back, with obviously winning against Central Coast the week before. The problem is that with that, and I know the travel obviously to Perth from Sydney is a long trip. I've done it myself, and it is a few hours, obviously. But Wellington and Auckland don't have the excuse, because they got to travel too, and they got to travel further. Realistically, obviously with Wellington, it's the distance derby is what they call it, which obviously is the furthest 2 clubs in distance. I'd say Auckland is pretty close to that now, but obviously they don't have the history between those 2 clubs in playing each other. And what I mean by that is that Auckland playing Perth, and obviously when Auckland was added to the competition, obviously which was last year, Perth hasn't been playing that well, so they don't have that history between the 2 clubs nearly as well. So yeah, it's just an interesting result, 1-0. I guess, no, it wasn't a scoreless draw like it was with MacArthur and Melbourne Victory earlier last night. But yeah, it's just pretty lacklustre performance. Obviously, next round we go up against Brisbane, who at the moment obviously are in second position, but they're in the top 4 at this point in time. It's going to be interesting to see if they drop out, if they do end up losing, but they'd have to lose to Adelaide. So for Adelaide to jump in above them, and then obviously Auckland to win against them as well, so they drop 2 positions to 4th. But obviously Perth, unless Melbourne City or Wellington win, I guess, in that they'll jump them as well, but it'd be goal difference then. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game for the Wanderers next round. Obviously they play at home next round as well, so on the Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see what the result will be, because they need to pick up some slack, because they have obviously the result got away from them yesterday, especially against 10 men. That's no real excuse. But yeah, it's just pretty lackluster performance, honestly. And from that we go to Liverpool. Obviously I'm only going to talk about the first part, because the second game hasn't played until I think it's tomorrow morning. But I will have a look at the draw, because I'm not sure. But yeah, Liverpool obviously playing 2 games this week, one midweek, one towards the end of the week. Sunday 4:30 my time. So when I'm recording this, will be tomorrow at 4:30 a.m. For me. But we're going to at least talk about one of the results, obviously, because one of the games has already gone on. We can talk about the game against Sunderland, and it was a 1-1 draw at home at Anfield for Liverpool. It was 1-1 against Sunderland. And this was a result that I expected. Ultimately, I think in this game, I think it kind of deserved that it was going to be 1-1, or like a draw in general. I thought it was going to be 2-2. I thought there might have been more goals than just the 2. But the first half, it was 0-0 at halftime. And then Sunderland scored first. I think it was off a deflection from Virgil van Dijk, so that also doesn't help things there. But we did score in the 81st minute, which also I think took a slight deflection as well. So it ended up being, I guess you could class it almost as 2 own goals at this point. One for each side, but it stayed at 1-1 at the end of the game. And I thought in all the possible results, I thought that was probably going to happen, that it was going to be a draw more so than a loss. So at this point in time, obviously not permitting with the Leeds game, which we'll get to Leeds in a second, because they had a big upset win. With that, obviously Sunderland stay in 6th position, and with we actually stay in 9th position at this point in time. We actually do jump a couple of spots, obviously, with the draw. But obviously Crystal Palace ended up winning midweek, so they ended up jumping into 5th position, pushed everyone else out. So yeah, in 9th position at the moment. Sunderland obviously in 6th position. We'll talk about Leeds because they ended up winning 3-1 over Chelsea. So Chelsea ended up going from 2nd position, probably with a couple of games left to go, last week, obviously Manchester City being one of them, and they dropped from 3rd to 4th position now, and 3 points behind 3rd with Aston Villa, jumping in that 3rd position with a couple of good wins and a couple of good results for them, and obviously 4 points behind Manchester City in 2nd position, and Manchester City is behind Arsenal by 5 points at this point in time as well. So, yeah. So Leeds ended up winning 3-1, so that pushed them out of the relegation zone, pushed West Ham back in, obviously the result against Liverpool going against them last week as well, so that kind of pushed them back down. So Leeds in 17th position with 14 points from 14 games. So they've 14 games played and they've scored 14 points. So you can technically average it out at 1 point a game. So you could say that they drew 14 times, but they have not because they have a goal difference of -10. So yeah, so it's a team around the relegation zone that we're playing tomorrow morning. So we'll hope the result is a good one for us. Obviously, like I said, it's been one of those things where, we've seen teams, obviously, like I said, with Leeds just beating Chelsea, who is a team that's in the top 4. We've seen where the results happen. Obviously, Nottingham Forest beat us 3-0 as well. Obviously, some people will joke and say, oh yeah, but at least Chelsea got a goal back against a relegation zone team, unlike Liverpool did with Nottingham Forest. But I'm like, mate, at this point in time, we're lucky that Liverpool aren't in the bottom half of the table. With the way that they're playing presently, you guys are flying, and then you get beaten up by a team midweek that is in the relegation zone. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, something can happen. Obviously, I'm putting an amendum at the end of this segment, obviously, for that game against Leeds United for Liverpool. But it is away from home as well. So we are travelling to Leeds to play. I don't think it's too far from Liverpool, obviously, to travel to Leeds. It probably is a couple of hours, if that. But I don't live in the UK, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But I'd imagine the travel wouldn't be too long, compared to obviously like Champions League travel, which obviously Liverpool will have to do before Wednesday's game against Inter Milan. So, and then obviously they'll be travelling back to Anfield to play on that weekend against Brighton. So they will have to travel to Milan and back. So it's probably the Leeds travel is probably not as long as that, honestly. But hopefully for Liverpool, it's 3 points, because if that's the case, they will move up to 25. They'll jump Chelsea into 4th position, not counting any other results, obviously, in that. But at the moment, if they do add the 3 points in there for that Leeds game, they'll jump into 4th position. So they'll jump from 9th to 4th position. That's how close it is in the top 10. Because if you're going from 2nd, which is at 28 points, you go right down to 10th as 21. Then obviously Spurs and Newcastle are outside on 19 points, both on 19 points, with Bournemouth and Brentford. So Bournemouth ended up actually dropping right down to 14th, with a lot of results that haven't gone their way the last couple of weeks. In fact, actually, have they lost like 3 games on the trot? Let me have a look. They've lost 4 out of the last 5, and they have Chelsea this weekend. So that's going to be a big game for them. But we'll see what happens because they do have quite a few results. Ooh, Manchester City and Sunderland this weekend. Oh, nice. That's going to be a very interesting game in terms of results because, Sunderland, if they pick up some points there, they jump into third position on 20. Sorry, no, they'll jump into fourth position with 26 points, rather. Manchester City will be behind by more to Arsenal because Arsenal will end up playing Aston Villa. That's also another interesting game as well. Another good, interesting couple of games coming up over the weekend, including obviously the one with Liverpool against Leeds United to obviously try and get back into that top 4 position, if not obviously into the top 6, because ninth position is good. Could be a hell of a lot better considering obviously the results that we've had, but with the way that we won the league last year, being in ninth position, not a great situation right now for Liverpool, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, 1-1 draw against Sunderland, against a really, really good side. Let's be real. Yes, they got promoted from the Championship at the end of the last season, but they're playing some really, really good football and deserve to be near the top because they have been playing out of their skin, Sunderland, in some of their games this year, and have been very competitive in pretty much all of them. 1-1 draw against Sunderland. Pretty good result considering that one team's in 6th position right now and the other's in 9th. But they were pretty close together. I think there were only 2 ladder positions between each other at one stage there. So, they kind of deserve the 1-1 draw, both teams, because they've been playing, or at least Sunderland have been playing out of their skin and they don't deserve to lose. And obviously I have a little bit of bias because obviously my team is Liverpool, and they've been playing okay, but they could be playing a lot better. And well, here's the amendment to the Liverpool game. Obviously, we talked about Sunderland not that long ago. It's Monday morning. So we have the game, obviously, against Leeds. And for whatever reason, it ended up being a 3-3 draw, surprisingly, against a team that was in 17th. It was 0-0 at halftime as well. So it's 6 goals. It was 3-3. So 6 goals in the second half, which is crazy, especially for a Premier League game. Usually you don't get that many. So it was 0-0 at half time. They kept up the pressure pretty well throughout. Liverpool ended up being 2 goals up, scoring in the 48th minute and the 50th minute with Hugo. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Edeke or something like that. He scored a double in the space of about 3 minutes. Then they actually scored a double. They scored 2 goals in the space of 3 minutes as well, in the 73rd and the 75th minute. Then we then scored, Dominic scored in the 80th minute, so we thought that we were going to win 3-2. And then in stoppage time, once again, our defense has let us down. Kanane ended up chesting a ball close to Allison in the goalkeeper position, and Tanaka ended up scoring the tying goal. Another goal off a set piece again by Liverpool. I tried to wait until this morning just to get all the other results sorted for the Premier League. So right now, Liverpool are in 9th position, so we've stayed relatively about the same as we were. There was a few teams that obviously could have jumped around a little bit. But Arsenal ended up dropping points. They ended up dropping points yesterday, which was insane. They dropped against Aston Villa. So Arsenal are now 2 points on top of the table and 33 points. Second is Manchester City with 31. Aston Villa in 3rd position with 30. Crystal Palace with 26 in 4th position. Chelsea dropped to 5th position with 25 points. Obviously with that loss to Leeds earlier in this week, that didn't help them. So Leeds have actually done pretty well in getting 4 points out of the last 2 games, which is crazy for them. especially considering they were in the relegation zone not even a couple of weeks back. Everton jumped to 6th position, Brighton to 7th, Sunderland dropped to 8th position, Liverpool in 9th position, as I just said, Tottenham Hotspurs in 10 with 22 points. 7th through to 9th is all on 23 points. Newcastle in 11th. Manchester United dropped to 12th position. Bournemouth jumped to 13th position with 20 points. So they must have picked up a win as well. Brentford dropped to 14th with 19. Fulham stay in 15th with 17. Leeds jump Nottingham Forest to 16th position on 15 points, but their goal difference is obviously one better than Nottingham Forest. Then West Ham dropped, especially midweek, down into 18th position. Burnley in 19th, and Wolves stay at 2 points on the bottom in 20th position. So not the most ideal result for Liverpool, honestly. I feel like that they should have probably won this game, and won it pretty handily too, and they just didn't. The pressure was up from both teams, obviously, but it could have been a better result, obviously, especially on the road. Again, keep yawning in these videos, and I don't understand why. But yeah, being 2 goals up, obviously 2-0 up, and then being 3-2 up. Our defense has not been fantastic either. Mohamed Salah, obviously being on the bench, he's had issues. He'll be playing this weekend against Brighton, I think, and then he'll be going to the Tournament of Nations in Africa. So their African tournament for their international games. So he'll be playing obviously for Egypt, as he usually does, because that's obviously his national team. So he will be out of the Liverpool team for a while, doing that. Obviously, some teams obviously trying to confirm themselves in to the World Cup still from the African nations. There's quite a few. Obviously, a lot of the World Cup group stages have all been drawn at this point in time. They only did that on Saturday morning, I think it was my time, if not Friday. And Australia got a pretty decent group. They ended up getting Paraguay, the United States, and then a qualifier. I think it's Kosovo, Romania. There's 4 teams there, but we haven't confirmed on who's going to take that spot yet. I think Turkey's another team that's in that position that could qualify for that, but we'll see what happens with them. It's a very big week this week, obviously, for Liverpool, because they go back to Champions League football. They end up going to Milano to face Inter Milan away from home. Obviously, in their position right now in the Champions League, they're right towards the middle of the group. In 13th position. So at this point in time, Inter Milan are in 4th position with a win in front of Liverpool at this present moment. So hopefully it'll be a good result for Liverpool, especially if we can get at least a point back, because then we can join the group. We'll probably jump into 10th position if our results stay the same, because Atalanta have a goal difference of +1. We have one of +2, but we're only a point behind 6th right through to 10th position at the moment in terms of table points. And then obviously back in the Premier League at the end of the week, we face Brighton, who obviously are in 7th position now over Liverpool, who are obviously in 9th position. And then we're playing that game at Anfield, I believe. We're playing at Anfield. So it's going to be a very interesting week to see what happens with Champions League, as well as playing against Brighton as well. Maybe that's why, because I don't think Mohamed Salah was actually played on the game against Leeds yesterday morning, because obviously we've got the game against Inter Milan on Wednesday at 7 a.m. my time, and then we have Liverpool up against Brighton on Sunday 2 a.m. my time. So we've got two big games back to back, especially that Inter Milan game in the Champions League. But 3-3 draw after a 1-1 draw, obviously earlier in the week against Sunderland. Yeah, it is what it is, but at least it's a point, I guess, a point back in the table, because we could have had no points whatsoever and could have lost to Leeds, and that would have been, that would have been a thing. Yeah, not much you can do about it. And moving on from that, we'll finish with the Wanderers women's team. Obviously, they had a huge game. They had the Sydney Derby themselves after a week after the men's actually had theirs, a week or two after theirs. Obviously, international football kind of playing a part in between that. And it was a 0-0 draw, actually, in the Sydney Derby, the first Sydney Derby of the year for the women. And a pretty interesting performance because obviously they played relatively well in that Sydney FC obviously were in a position where they were at the top of the table or near the top, and played relatively well. I think both teams actually played relatively well going in. But yeah, 0-0, great result, especially for the Wanderers women's team, because obviously it was technically like top spot against bottom spot at one stage during that week, last week. And we come away with a point against them, who have pretty much they've dominated the women's team quite a lot over the last few years as well. So at the moment, in terms of the table, we actually jump from the bottom spot. We jump into 10th position, so second last, with the point. So it's Melbourne Victory on top with 9 points in the women, and this is the women's table, mind you. Brisbane tied with them on 9 points. I think it's only just a goal difference, because Melbourne Victory have +3, but Brisbane also have +3, and Sydney also have +3, but Melbourne Victory and Brisbane have scored more goals than Sydney. Melbourne Victory have scored 11 and 8 scored against. Brisbane have got 9 goals for and 6 goals against, and then Sydney FC have got 5 goals for and 2 goals against. So pretty good up the top of the table in terms of keeping in touch. Keeping in touch with each other there. Then in 4th positions, Melbourne City. I stopped myself because I thought I was going to say Manchester City, but Melbourne City tied with Canberra United and Newcastle Jets, all on 7 points, which is obviously goal difference there as well. Then 7th position is the Mariners, last year's champions, with 6 points. Wellington Phoenix in 8th position with 5. Adelaide in 9th position with 4 points, and Wanderers also on 4 points in 10th position, though they are -1, one more goal compared to Adelaide. Adelaide have got 3 goals for, 7 goals against, and the Wanderers have got 3 goals for and 8 goals against. So that's why we're not in 9th position with that draw. And then down the bottom is Perth Glory with 3 points. So yeah, so that point actually did matter in the long run for the women. Jumps them off bottom spot again. We'll see what happens this week because they go up against the Mariners. Could possibly be in a game that could be another draw for them, but it also could be a win, I suppose, for them as well. But we'll see what happens with them. Just go with the updated table with the men's as well. So Sydney FC still on top with 15 points. Then behind them on 14 is both Brisbane and Auckland FC. Brisbane obviously winning very late last night against Adelaide United. But they obviously have 8 goals for and 3 goals against, and Auckland FC have got 10 goals for but 6 goals against. So it's +5 compared to +4 in terms of goal difference. Sydney FC got a goal difference of +9 at the moment, which is crazy. Then in 4th position on 12 points is Melbourne City. 5th position is Perth Glory with 10. Then Adelaide United dropped to 6th position with 9 points. Then that huge group from 7th right through to 10th have all got 8 points, with Wellington being on top of that group in 7th position, Mariners in 8th, Wanderers in 9th, and Macarthur Bulls in 10th position. It's only just, again, goal difference on those. It's -2 for Wellington, but they've also for Mariners and the Wanderers, it's -2 as well. It's just obviously goals for. Wellington has scored 9 this season. Mariners have scored 8. And Wanderers, despite being the best attacking team last year, have only scored 6 so far. So it's actually 3rd worst all competition, because the teams behind them in terms of that, Melbourne Victory and Macarthur Bulls. And Macarthur have got 4 at this point in time, same with Melbourne Victory. Then 11th position with 6 points is Newcastle Jets. I was going to say Newcastle United, that's EPL. And then on the bottom still is Melbourne Victory with 5 points. So decent result, like a loss. It's not ideal, obviously, for the men, especially against Perth Glory. Though Perth Glory are obviously in the top 6 now. Goes to Saturday for the men, because it is a afternoon game against Brisbane Roar at CommBank. So thankfully we are playing at home, but against Brisbane Roar it's going to be tough. Obviously they're in 2nd position right now. They're playing pretty well. And then obviously the Wanderers women play on Sunday at 5 p.m. So they play at the same time. It's just 24 hours difference between the two teams in the A-League for the men and the women. So it's just one of those things. Hopefully we can fix a few things up, get at least a draw, if not a win, against Brisbane, because that would be fantastic for the Wanderers men. But a 0-0 draw in the Sydney Derby, the first Sydney Derby of the year for the women. Pretty great result for them. They played hard and, did really well. And with that, that'll be it for this episode of How's My Team. Just go over some miscellaneous stuff. We'll talk about Seattle Seahawks. They end up winning in Atlanta 37-9. So 28-point drubbing to the Falcons, which is great. Great result for Seahawks. Puts them at 10-3. At the moment, the Rams are 31 points to 10 over the Cardinals. So you'd think the Rams will also have 10 wins, so we'll still stay that half game behind them in the division as well. But doing relatively well. Again, we just needed to put away, some of those teams that are obviously not playing nearly as well in Seattle, like Seattle anyway. But it's just one of those things where there's not much that we can do, but obviously play against. Just got to find my team, but we just got to keep winning at this point. So obviously, yes, we played against Atlanta. We go back home against the Colts. Exit out of that. Let's go scroll down. So we're at home against the Colts on Sunday. It'll be Monday my time, and then it'll be a Friday morning game against the Rams. So it'll be a short week, and then which will be at home as well. It'll be at Lumen Field. So we have pretty interesting couple of next month, because we have the Colts obviously who've done relatively okay. Then we have the Rams, obviously, for the division. That'll be the fight for the division. Then the Panthers, who we don't know who's actually broadcasting that game, and we don't actually know when that game is actually supposed to be going on right now. Week 17, week 18 at the moment. So, but we do know that obviously we will be playing in Carolina for that game against the Panthers, and at Levi Stadium back in San Francisco against the 49ers in week 18. But yeah, so going to be big schedule coming up here. In terms of other teams, I think the Colts, did they lose today? Colts did lose today. They lost to the Jags, so they've actually lost the number 1 seed in their division. So it's a big game for them. I think Daniel Jones, was also injured during this game as well. We'll have to have a look. Is it in there? Because he did come off second best in that game, so I'm not sure if he's injured or not. It'd be a better situation for Seattle if he is injured, because obviously the backup is Anthony Richardson, who hasn't played for a little bit, so he might be a bit rusty. But for them, not a bad result. Obviously 37-9. So yeah, pretty big performance for the Seattle Seahawks. Not much else going on in terms of other miscellaneous stuff right now. Obviously, we just got Champions League football for Liverpool. Premier League. We've obviously got A-League also going on as well. So it's going to be pretty decent week once again. Pretty jam-packed. But we'll see what happens with this week, because let's hope that some of my teams actually do end up winning some games, because we need to. Especially Seattle, but even going into the Wanderers and even especially Liverpool as well. Just hope all of them win. I doubt all of them will win, but I'm hoping for the best. But, prepare for the worst, obviously. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of How's My Team. This has been Mario Man 100. You guys have a great day and night. Of course, take care.